안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 오늘 햇살, 날씨 너무 좋네요. 저는 야간 출근했다가 퇴근하고 왔습니다. 오늘은 1월 5일 화요일, 지금은 아침 10시고요. 9시인가? 그렇습니다. 운동을 해야겠죠? 코로나는 1000명 아래로 떨어졌어요. 700명인가? 800명인가? 그리고 이번 주 목요일부터 한파가 온다고 하죠. 영하 20도까지. 도대체 지구 온난화는 언제 오는 거죠? 초등학교 때 학교에서 석유가 고갈될 거라고 그렇게 얘기를 했는데 석유는 언제 고갈되는 거죠? 이렇게 날씨가 춥고 근데 햇살이 너무 좋습니다. 오늘 이렇게 소리 하지 말고 운동이나 해야 돼. 일단 스트레칭을 안 했어요. 스트레칭 하고 뭐 하든가 하겠습니다. 뭐 너무 졸려요. 혓바늘 나는 것 같아. 딱 하루 야간했는데. 이렇게 야간 근무가 이렇게 무섭습니다, 여러분. 원래 퇴근하자마자 자야 되는데 퇴근하자마자 자면은 그게 꼬여요. 그게 잘 안 됩니다. 병원에서도 퇴근하자마자 자라고 쓰는데 아무것도 하지 말고. 그럴까요? 그래야 되나? 모르겠습니다. 일단 피곤합니다. 스트레칭 할게요.
50 people. At the very beginning, it was very hard to work from our houses. Most of us were not prepared to deal with it, especially if you had kids. I have 2 kids, and that's the most difficult thing that many people of our agency have to deal. And we have people that was positive to COVID, and we have to support them and their families. It's a very hard situation for all of us. But we are resilient people, and we are Peruvians are very hard worker people. But in this case, I think it's going to take time to deal with this crisis. We don't know exactly when we are going to back to the office. So for our people, we are trying to keep safe, as I said, and then to keep their jobs, supporting them also with the problem that they
현타
have.
오네요, 현타가.
Business is all about making connections. But some connections are easier to make than others. With a CNN partner hotel, the world is always at your fingertips. CNN partner hotels, connected to your world.
in Shanghai, China. And this is CNN.
Good more breaking news tonight. Police in the District of Columbia arrested the leader of the right-wing group, the so-called Proud Boys, charging him with possessing 2 high-capacity firearm magazines. Henry Enrique Tarrio was also charged with burning a Black Lives Matter banner taken from a black church during protests last month during a rally in support of President Trump's baseless claims of voter fraud. A separate rally is scheduled for Wednesday to coincide with that congressional vote on affirming the Electoral College results. That rally, of course, has authorities seriously worried about the potential for violence. A sign of just how serious things are, the Defense Department today approved a request by the D.C. mayor to deploy National Guard forces to support local authorities during any demonstrations, and there's a chance President Trump will address some of those demonstrators. News continues. Let's hand it over to Chris for Cuomo Prime Time. Chris?
Happy New Year, brother. Good to see you, Anderson. I am Chris Cuomo. Welcome to Prime Time. Top of the new year, and our collective fate in 2021 will be greatly influenced by what happens this first week. The Republicans, they are insistent. They just want to ignore reality. Do you know that every 33 seconds, someone now dies in America of COVID? Every 33 seconds. There's desperation everywhere. The vaccine is being wasted. The distribution is a mess. There's no word of or worry about how to improve it by this leadership. And instead of obsessing over the reality, Trump and co. are engaged in the fantasy that our election was a fraud. And yet these same men and women who say they're so worried about manipulation of votes that they must try to stop our constitutional transfer of power. The same people are stubbornly resistant to the strongest evidence of irregularities that we have. What is the strongest evidence of irregularity? What is, in fact, a smoking gun? This.
There's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated. All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes. Flipping the state is a great testament to our country.
If only on this, Trump is the worst we have ever seen. Find me the votes. Nothing wrong with that. With pressuring Georgia's top election official to overturn his defeat. Listen, put a pinky ring on this guy's little hand. He is nothing but a mob boss. Listen to this.
You should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican. It's more illegal for you than it is for them. Because you know what they did and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal offense. And you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. It's going to be very costly in many ways.
He has no proof of any of that. He offered no proof of any of that, but it's going to be costly. Is he going to sleep with the fishes? Scorsese never had a more obvious malefactor in his films. Look, it's a new year, all right? Just try to start open. Does this pass the smell test, what he's doing with this guy? No. You having trouble with that? Pretend Biden was saying it. Now you got those eyes popping, right? Jim Jordan's moving his tie, rolling up his sleeves, right? Biden would be impeached on this alone if they had the numbers. The Senate would be holding hearings announced yesterday. But the Republicans, they're just pawns to a garrulous gangster. He even gave them mobby nicknames, right? Lion Ted, Little Marco. Now they're ignoring the realities in their own states and all over this country. We are in pain. And they are intent on causing more. They want to focus on a fiction that is nothing but an effort to tear us apart when we need to be together, and they know that. Remember them. Remember their names. Remember their faces. Remember their places and what they failed to do in this moment. Many Republicans were elected or re-elected on the same ballots they now object to. Think about that. They're crying fraud for Trump, but not their victories. Those are legit. How stupid do they think we are? They argue, stop the steal, alongside Trump. And now he's on tape, literally trying to steal the election. Again, remember, this ain't his first perfect call. Remember him with Zelensky and Ukraine? Yeah, we're gonna help you, but I want you to do a favor for me. And he wanted him to go after Biden. This is who he is. He's the worst. But it's about everybody else around him that put him first. They are who you must focus on because they remain. And remember this, their rationale for ignoring the reality. Here it is. Listen, we have to focus on the fact that the election was fraudulent because that's what has people angry. The people are only angry about that because you've lied to them. You lied about this election, and you know it. How do we know you know it? Because you big brain people who are arguing about it now, they don't have any proof. They've never offered you any, and they've had dozens of chances to make it true in courts all over the country at every level, with conservative judges, with Republican state officials, with Republican legislatures, each and all negating their nugatory nonsense. And they know it. This has never been about law and fact. They've never had it on their side. It's about how angry can they make you, how inimical to your own interests, how much can you hate me such that you ignore what they are doing to you. It is the worst president and political poison we may have ever seen. And no, it's not something they all do. There are problems in our political culture, full stop. There are problems with these parties that I would like to discuss, but it is beyond my mandate. I think this two-party system is killing us. But be very clear about where we are in this moment. This is about the Retrumplicans, period. Exhibit A, the top Republican in the House this morning. Listen to this guy.
But what I read about, the president has always been concerned about the integrity of the election. And the president believes that there are things that happened in Georgia, and he wants to see the accountability for it. But look, does anybody in America think the last election was done well?
Yeah, McCarthy. A lot of people think the election was done well, like the courts, like the 50 states that certified them, including your own. That's Exhibit A. Here's Exhibit B. Trump's Homeland Security Department says what I just told you, okay? His cyber chief, his own attorney general said no mass fraud. What happened to them? They don't get the McCarthy treatment. They don't get to talk to the smiling faces on the couch, right? Gone within days. For what? Telling the truth. You want to stick around, you got to be like Mr. Mendacity there. Play the game. Play the game. David Perdue, one of the GOP senators in the spotlight in Georgia, right? Fighting to keep his job. He was asked about this tape. He says, it's disgusting. Not what Trump did. The Secretary of State recording and releasing it.
저 쿠오모 아저씨는 프롬프터라고 하나요? 그 카메라에서 글씨 올라오는 거? 그거를 읽는 걸까요? 아니면 진짜 자기의 그 의견이나 그거를 저렇게 얘기를 하는 걸까요?
That you don't even know by now. The truth is known. Their own party members confirm it. Takes us to Exhibit C.
There is no shredding of ballots going on. That's not real. It's not
자료로까지 이렇게 나오는 거
changing
보니까는
parts or pieces out
다
of the
그게 있는 거겠죠?
machines. That's not a real. I don't even know what that means. It's not a real thing. Secretary Raffensperger does not have a brother named Ron Raffensperger. That is also not real. The president tweeted that out as well.
That guy's a Republican, by the way. It is the night before the runoff elections in Georgia. They will decide the balance of power in the Senate. Now, look, I don't know who wins. And frankly, to me, it doesn't matter because I know what has to change. It doesn't matter which party wins. The focus is what has to change, and it has to be on you. Congress has to get off of their inside game and back onto you. That's part of my job. And is, really the responsibility of you in watching me to create the mandate of checking them. Your problems are real. They're resonant. And the people gifted the ability to do your business and bidding, and it is a gift you give them. They need to remember who put them there. So far, this president-elect does seem to get that.
Politicians cannot assert, take, or seize power. Power is given.
granted by the American people alone. We're a nation built on honor, decency, dignity, and respect. That's who we are. That's who we are at our best. Now, sometimes you got to go through a test to get to your best. And I, for one, hope there is a really ugly and obvious event on January 6th in Congress. Why? I don't want drama, but I want you to see the truth. I want you to see who stands up and on what basis, and remember the names and faces who try to give the bum's rush to Uncle Sam. Make no mistake, that's what's happening. They are attacking our democracy and therefore our country's foundation. Be clear, there's no way to qualify an opposition that's based on no proof. It can only be a brazen broadside. That's how they set it up. But here's the good news for 2021. We won. I don't care what party you are. Again, I think that whole system's part of the problem. We'll get to that another time. The institutions that secure our democracy won. They got the rust knocked off of them by revolt, and they withstood the worst blows from these people that we've seen in the modern era. Uncle Sam was too much for Trump and co. You know, I was looking at this picture of him, and I gotta be honest, I never got it. I never got the look. Why so wizened? Such garish clothes. Why? But now, doesn't Uncle Sam seem perfectly suited for the moment? He's got that COVID look that everybody has now. He's got the scraggly beard, he's got the long hair because he can't get a cut. He's got the added wrinkles. Even the outfit. It's kind of cool, man. Turns out, fighting for democracy never goes out of style. And that look in his eye, that's what gets me. A lot of us have that look now. Check it out. Pointing at you. Why? It's the stink eye. He's sick of it. He's sick of being sick. He's sick of people trying to make us sick. Uncle Sam is us. United States of America, Uncle Sam. There has never been a time that calls for us to remember that we have to come together, that our strength is in the collective, than right now. So let's point forward, let's find a better course, and let's get after it. Tonight, that means starting with an election official in the state making the most headlines. Matt Mashburn is a member of the Georgia Election Board. He is a Trump voter, okay? He has been investigating the fraud claims, and he wants to come on to tell us what the reality is in his state on the eve of it being the focus of the nation. Welcome. Best of the new year to you and your family.
Happy New Year to you, Chris. Glad to be here.
You know, I know people have been talking to you about your position and say, man, I'm sorry you're in such a jam. I don't feel like that. Yeah, you're a Republican. You should be proud of it. And your party does not have to be co-opted by one man and his interests. What do you have for this audience to understand in terms of how the election was conducted in the state of Georgia and how you feel about the results?
Well, the first thing I'd like to point out in Georgia is for the first time ever, we've had voter-verified paper receipts that each in-person, in-precinct voter looked at and verified that, yes, this was my vote. Now, traditionally, every election that we've had computerized voting for 20 years, we had about 300 to 800 complaints that the machine flipped the vote because of recalibration or calibration issues or whatever. But this time, we didn't have a single report. I didn't get a single report of a voter who said the machine printed out the incorrect candidate that I did not choose. And we've never had that before.
The signatures were fake. They found ballots thrown out, and they found ballots that were played with. And Dominion is taking stuff out of its machines in the county that count. You look at those, and what did you find?
Yeah, the signature check was the largest mobilization by the GBI in its history to examine signatures. And there was a specific complaint about Cobb County, so we investigated Cobb County, and they didn't find a single instance of fraud. They did find 2 voters who probably should have been notified of a signature mismatch, and they tracked it down, and the voters confirmed, yes, that was my vote. So there was 0 evidence of signature fraud in the largest examination of its type in the GBI's history.
You are a rhino. You're a Republican in name only. You have been duped and paid off, and that's why you are ignoring the obvious. That's what you will be told. Your response?
I actually have been told that about things that I witnessed myself, and so it's kind of awkward when, for example, I was at the English Avenue Tabulation Center when the election director announced we're counting again at State Farm to everybody in the room, and then people will come to me and say there was secret voting at State Farm, and I was like, well, that was a terribly kept secret because everybody at English Avenue, 5 miles away in a different building, knew about it. So that was a pretty terribly kept secret if it was supposed to be secret, because we all knew about it.
What do you say to members of your party or supporters of Trump who say, if you say what you're saying right now, you keep saying this, especially to Cuomo, you're not one of us. You're going bad on your own party. What do you say to them?
Well, there are people who are upset, and as we talk to them, they're very passionate about the election. But most of them are involved in things like tabulation for the very first time. So it's like when you're on an airplane and you're on the airplane with a first-time flyer, and the landing gear goes up in the wheel well, and you hear this thump. Well, for a first-time flyer, that's very disturbing, and they'll say, what's that? The plane's got a problem. And I've been doing tabulation for 25 years, so a 25-year frequent flyer will go, no, that's just normal. That's okay. And so, give an example about the shredding of the ballots. Those were in Cobb County at Jim Miller Park. It took me 5 seconds, and I saw that's the white envelope. It does have the word ballot on it.
여기까지 하겠습니다. 지금 몇 분 했죠?
Right, every good conspiracy.
The envelope's worthless.
Every good conspiracy has a little bit of truth in it. There is an envelope. It says ballot, just wasn't a ballot. Lastly,
자, 알겠어.
it is no small irony, I'm sure, to you or to me, that the same men and women who are saying that you can't trust that Ashburn, there are real problems down there,